You've been apart for 3 weeks. And in those 3 weeks, you've had some of the best conversations of your relationship. Things you've never talked about before. Things you didn't know you needed to say. You've asked questions you never thought to ask when you were in the same room. Now think about the couple you know who see each other every evening, share a home, share a bed, and have quietly run out of things to say. Most people assume that's what distance does to relationships over time, that it gradually erodes them, that proximity is the thing love needs to survive. In 2013, researchers at Cornell University studied this directly. What they found turned that assumption completely around. We're going to show you exactly why absence creates a specific kind of intimacy that proximity can't replicate on its own, what in-person couples are quietly trading away without realizing it, and what both of those things tell you about what closeness actually requires. That last part is where it gets useful. In 1927, a psychology student named Bluma Zeigarnik was sitting in a cafe in Berlin when she noticed something about the waiters. They could recall every detail of an unfinished order, the modifications, the timing, the table, but once the order was complete and delivered, it disappeared from memory almost immediately. She brought the observation into the lab. What she found became one of the most replicated findings in cognitive psychology. The brain holds incomplete experiences in active working memory far more vividly than completed ones. We remember what remains unresolved. It became known as the Zeigarnik Effect. Here is what that means for someone you love but cannot fully reach. Every moment with them ends before it feels finished. Every call cuts off. Every visit closes before you're ready. The connection is never fully resolved, never fully completed, and so the brain keeps it open, active, running. This is why people in long-distance relationships report thinking about their partner almost constantly. It is not simply longing. The brain is doing something specific, holding an open loop that it has not yet been allowed to close. And an open loop, neurologically, is something the mind cannot let go of. In 2013, Crystal Zhang and Jeffrey Hancock at Cornell University published a study comparing long-distance couples directly against geographically close couples across multiple measures of relationship quality. Long-distance couples reported higher levels of intimacy, higher trust, higher idealization of their partner, and significantly higher quality communication. Not just more communication, but more meaningful communication per interaction. The paper was titled, "Absence Makes the Communication Grow Fonder." The mechanism they identified was straightforward once you see it. When you cannot rely on being in the same room as someone, every interaction becomes deliberate. You cannot fill an evening with parallel silence, shared screens, proximity without contact. Everything you communicate on purpose. Long-distance couples ask real questions because they have to. They share what is actually on their mind because there is no other way to share it. They tell each other things that in-person couples leave unsaid because the opportunity to say them never quite arrives. What Zhang and Hancock found was that geographically close couples often use physical presence as a substitute for intimacy, rather than a vehicle for it. Being near someone stops feeling like a choice, and when it stops feeling like a choice, it stops feeling like it means something. There is a third piece to this, and it is the one that matters most for couples who do share a home and a life. The brain has a built-in response to repeated, constant stimuli. It stops responding to them as strongly. This is habituation. It is the same mechanism that means you stop noticing the hum of the refrigerator after a few days in a new house. It is entirely automatic, and it applies to people. When someone is always available, always present, always there when you reach for them, the brain gradually stops registering their presence as significant. Not because the love has changed, because the nervous system adapts to constants. Long-distance couples live in a different rhythm. Absence followed by reunion. Reunion followed by absence. The anticipation of seeing someone activates the brain's reward systems in ways that routine presence cannot. The reunion is not a return to normal. It is a peak experience, every time. This is not an argument that distance is better than being together. It is an observation about what distance forces and what proximity quietly removes if you let it. The couples who stay genuinely close over years are usually the ones who found a way to stay intentional inside proximity, who kept reaching for each other when they didn't have to, who kept asking the questions they could have left unasked. The distance doesn't create the intimacy. What creates it is being unwilling to coast on the fact that someone is there. So those 3 weeks apart, with the best conversations you've had in years, that wasn't a coincidence. You were keeping an open loop. You were communicating on purpose. You were reaching for each other because there was no other way to be close. The question for every couple, whether they're 3 miles apart or 3,000, is the same. Are you reaching for each other, or are you assuming that being near each other is enough? In our Building Lasting Love guide, we spend a lot of time on something called bids for connection, the small, deliberate ways partners reach for each other, and what happens to a relationship when those bids stop being made. It's one of the most practically useful frameworks we know of, and it's exactly what long-distance couples are doing instinctively that in-person couples sometimes forget. Link is in the description if you want it. We also have a collection of free guides there if you want to keep going. If this gave you something to think about, please share it. It helps us reach more people. We share a new video every week on attachment, communication, and what love actually looks like when it's working. Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next one.